latter part of Generation X, when the internet was just a baby. And we had no idea what it was really capable of. Of course, you couldn't live in that time period without getting a little bit of pop culture on you. And I am just enthralled with it. And, you know, of course, paying attention to the world outside of it. When I was 16, a little-known TV show debuted on Comedy Central, hosted by an ESPN host called The Dade Show. Coburn left only after a couple of years, but when Jon Stewart took over, The Daily Show became an entirely different animal. Mixing biting humor and politics and giving my friends and I something to bicker about that was bigger than our small little lives. It was a fun topic that had worldly implication that we weren't yet charged with. But we all knew someday it would be our turn to pick up the mantle and take things seriously. After high school, without the money or test scores to attend college, I went straight into work. I'm sure some of you probably are late. I would have loved nothing more than to absorb the knowledge to come out of a proper higher education, but it just wasn't in the cards. Like most of you, I wore a few hats to find out what I was good at. I enjoyed working my first few jobs. I got to meet and talk to a lot of great people, some not so much. And it kept me in touch with what mattered to people. And with what people wanted, needed, and struggled with. As a waiter in a diner, customers would come in there rather, and tell me about their struggles. And you guys remember how relaxed the smoking section used to be? Where like you'd walk in and you would light a cigarette, and I apologize to the non-smokers here, you may not, or to the never smokers here rather, you may not be able to relate, but you'd walk in, you'd light a cigarette, eventually your server would come around, you know, you'd order your food, and eventually they'd come back. It was all just a much more relaxed environment than kind of the fast-paced food that we deal with now. So, working there, I got to meet a lot of people. As a salesman, I was able to see profound impacts that technology made on our society. I began selling cell phones in 2001, a few months before the Twin Towers fell. Our most expensive phone was the Motorola StarTAC. Little black flip phone, if anybody remembers it. And that's 8 years before the iPhone changed everything. After that, I spent a couple of years in retail management, supporting and speaking for my stores, and then moved into sales operations where I am now. See, when I was in the store, the biggest complaint that I got was not people's wages, but their commission was calculated incorrectly. And I knew that where my career should take me next at that point. Excuse me. Sorry. So from that point on, I made sure that the people that, sorry, from that, since then I've been working to ensure that not only the people I'm responsible for, but also those that I'm not, can benefit from the work that I do, making their lives easier, whether or not they know that I'm doing it. Of course, I can't talk about support without at least touching on those who support me. I have a wife with a disability and 2 school-aged girls, 16 and 11. We'll talk more about them in a minute. I know that for some people, not many in this room, politics is something that other people groan over. Covered in legalities, procedure, deciphering what some folks meant 250 years ago when they wrote the Constitution. That's not me. As a side note, I don't follow sports. I'm happy for most of you that you're able to follow your favorite team with like-minded fans in the physical contexts. But for me, politics has always been my sport of choice. It's always been a spectator sport. The arguing, the debate, the right and wrong, the interpretation of what some guys meant 250 years ago when writing the Constitution. It's like a sport that focuses mental agility instead of physical, and I got a super bowl for 4 years. Finally, I decided I couldn't just be a spectator anymore, because it's not a zero-sum game. Both sides can win without the other side having to lose. I'm running for Congress because I know that Georgia has a voice. It's not one that the rest of the country hears. Georgia's voice is not one that lies, denies reality, makes us all look foolish. Georgia's voice is kind, compassionate, and hospitable. I'm running because lies and corruption are assumed when voting for a candidate, and we should demand more. I'm running because the people who got us into this mess won't be the ones to get us out. Because there are so many things that people will promise just to get your vote. I'm going to promise 2 things. I will be candid and transparent with you whenever legally possible. I will do everything I can to make sure that I tell you that everything that I tell you can be backed up by journalists. Actual journalists, and not a blogger on some opinion site. 2, I will be present.
Do you want some more?
Congress seems to be in recess more often than in elementary school.
Where is it?
And yet, we still only hear about Marjorie Taylor Greene being in town, that's 3 now, sorry, when she's gathering support for her rivalized former president. When the House is in recess, I will be in and around the district, making sure that I know what you need. I probably won't show up with a speech prepared. You're seeing how well I'm doing with that. But I will be ready to listen. Now, enough about me. Now let's talk about why you want to vote for me. We're going to start with a few issues that are most important to me, and then on to some that may be more important to you. One of the first items of business upon joining Congress will be to codify Roe versus Wade. Reproductive rights should never have been left in the hands of the Supreme Court, and we had 50 years to make it law. It's our fault for not imagining the other side would politicize women's lives. And as I said, I have a wife and 2 daughters. And their sovereignty over their own bodies is not something to be left to the political whims of a body that was always meant to be apolitical. Can I do this in parts?
You're doing great.
What? Are you kidding me? Okay, I'm going to be speaking fast. Going into Florida mode. LGBTQ rights. We need to ensure that our LGBTQ plus friends and families, and even complete strangers, have no less rights, privileges, or responsibilities than their cisgendered and or heterosexual counterparts. It's 2024, and our government thinks it's okay to treat people as second-class citizens all because of who they love, having no impact on those who appreciate whatsoever. Protecting kids in school from both physical harm and the mental harm that's coming from an activist government. Pushing puritanical teachings that alienate students that may be questioning their own feelings, or even have parents or family that may be in the LGBTQ community or teachers and faculty. These archaic policies are hurting our kids when they're being taught to anyone different than them. Got a story going on with it, but I'm going to skip it. Law enforcement needs to be reformed. We need to make sure to allow for funding that goes not towards surplus military equipment to handle unrest, but to training and requiring that our sworn protectors are as proficient with their words as they are with a gun. Our gun laws are written to cater to extremists and allow responsible gun owners to look bad because of it. I have a 3-point plan to reduce gun violence in the country. No reason a responsible gun owner would have a problem with it. Most of this is stuff we've heard before. 7-day waiting period. I have reasons. An in-depth background check, including a mental health check that I think we can get done without causing problems with hip-hop. And third, it's a previously untested idea, but it's something that President Biden actually touched on a little bit right after I said it. Talking about he's doing an education push on safe storage and handling. And